And a very happy Tuesday to you at 12:08 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, last night, the owner of the Los Angeles Times, Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, went on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart to make quite an announcement.
But it's important for the paper to have voices of all. And that's what I wanted to do, right? Whether you right, left, Democrat, Republican, you're an American. So
He sounds a little like Schwarzenegger.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
He's South African, so he's South African and of Asian descent, so somehow that turns into Arnold.
He sounds like him, not built like him, though.
Whether you right, left, Democrat, Republican, you're an American. So the opportunity for us to provide a paper that is the voices of the people, truly the voices of the people. So I'm going to announce something with you tonight, is that...
More than the nude mouse, you're going to announce something?
That we're literally going to take LA Times public and allow it to be democratized and allow the public to be ownerships of this paper.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Johnny, you want to invest in the LA Times?
Nope. He's going to turn the paper into the Green Bay Packers?
Yes.
Well, I'm not going to give anyone out there investment advice, but buying stock in a newspaper right now in 2025 may not be the smartest investment you can make.
The only worst one would be buying stock in radio companies.
Well, we're still profitable. It's just the companies overpay for it. With newspapers, I don't know how you make money off of that model.
It's not like there's really a classified section anymore, and the paywall's gotten so good that I don't even try to read the LA Times.
Oh, no. Before smartphones, the classified section was where you found anonymous sex. But now technology has changed that whole game.
Don't even need Craigslist anymore. They got apps specifically for that, for every type of interest you would want, Phil Ting.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, we've got a flurry of stories in the news today that have a through line. They have something in common with one another, and that something in common involves the state of California failing all of us. We know that with prison realignment and with reimagining how we conduct our criminal justice system here in California, the bias is to not put anyone in prison, even people who have demonstrated they have no interest in following the law. Well, if you can identify the bad apples and you refuse to separate them from everyone else, guess what those bad apples are going to do to the rest of society? They're going to kill you. And Randy, that's exactly what's happened in recent days.
Last night in Encino, there was a public safety town hall hosted by Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman and members of the LAPD, notably no City Councilwoman Nithya Raman or LA Mayor Karen Bass. This all in response to the burglaries that have been happening all over the place in Encino, and specifically the double homicide of an Encino couple that walked into their home being broken into. This guy found their gun and shot them both dead. Turns out that guy was recently picked up on a whole bunch of crimes, but his case got dismissed because, of course, it did. For more, here is NBC4 in Los Angeles.
Community meeting drawing a standing room only crowd. Last week, American Idol executive Robin Kay and her husband were found dead inside their home. NBC4's Tracy Leon was at that meeting tonight, and she joins us live with what unfolded. Tracy.
Yeah, Carolyn, about 300 people attended tonight's meeting, with people expressing their fears that they could be the next victims after their neighbors were allegedly murdered by a dangerous man who was let out of jail after his charges were dismissed.
Keep in mind, this is one of the most expensive zip codes in Los Angeles. A lot of celebrities live there. A lot of wealthy people live there. A lot of people of means live there. And all I can say when I heard the details of this story is I'm glad Chick Hearn's not alive to see this in his lovely Encino.
So let's go. We're here. What do we do?
Frustrated Encino residents packed the community center Monday night, pleading for answers and demanding action by the LAPD and the LA County DA, Nathan Hochman.
The neighborhood is really upset and scared and nervous about what happened and why was this person arrested several times before and then let out again to commit this awful crime.
Well, I wonder why.
Let's see. This is the district that elected Nithya Raman, correct?
Yes.
You have to start voting differently if you want different results.
The Encino Neighborhood Council inviting the community to discuss their safety concerns following the July 10th shooting deaths of American Idol music supervisor Robin Kay and her husband Thomas DeLuca, both 70. According to police, 22-year-old Raymond Budarian allegedly shot the couple when they returned from grocery shopping while he was burglarizing their home. NBC4 Investigates uncovered court records that show Budarian was jailed last year on suspicion of threat, weapons, and battery charges.
That seems fairly serious.
It almost seems as if he gave us every indication that something tragic was going to happen if we didn't take care of it.
In December, a judge dismissed the case against Budarian after a mental health evaluation was completed.
So here's the thing you need to know specifically about this case, but this is something that's been going on in California now for a few years. There is a mental health diversion law. It's been on the books for a few years now, but it is starting to get widely used, where it doesn't matter what kind of crime you committed, and it doesn't matter what kind of mental illness you say you have. It is up to the prosecutor to prove that your mental illness was not responsible for the crime that you committed. So almost anything out there outside of some incredibly severe crimes like rape and murder, you can get diversion for because you had, and I'm not kidding, ADHD.
And by the way, if you can identify that someone is crazy, why give them a break because of that? If they're crazy, that's even more of a reason to throw them in the clink.
This is what our representative government in California has given to us. A get-out-of-jail-free card if you say you're insane.
In December, a judge dismissed the case against Budarian after a mental health evaluation was completed. Many neighbors disturbed he was out of jail after the charges were dismissed.
It is not fair. It is not right. But that is the laws we have in place now. Those laws have to change.
And by the way, this was something that didn't get nearly as much attention as that bill to go after the purchasers of 16 and 17-year-olds for sex. But Sacramento County Sheriff Jim Cooper was trying to advance a bill in the California legislature this year that would undo this loophole, and it died in committee.
And let's also not forget, even though Nathan Hochman is far better than George Gascon, he endorsed Kamala Harris for president. Kamala Harris was the attorney general when so many of these stupid policies were enacted.
I'm going to help lead an effort over the next year or whatever amount of time it takes.
Hochman echoing neighbors' concerns, vowing to fight for change. And the LAPD saying they're adding patrols in Encino during the hours of darkness from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and working to add flyovers with their helicopters. Well, the
And of course, don't forget, LAPD is down about 1,500 officers right now, and that number is not getting any better anytime soon.
We do not have the personnel to properly police this city.
Well, the LAPD says there's been a slight decrease in burglaries this year, 188 compared to 196.
Yeah, they shouldn't have even said that. Just stop it. You cannot go to a public safety meeting where two people got murdered in their own home in Encino and try to sell the crime is down crap.
This is what they do, though. This is what they do. There was no rioting in downtown Los Angeles. The bullet train, that's a success. Crime is actually down in California.
During the same period last year, safety is their top priority. And with staffing shortages, they're also relying on the community for their support.
This is not something we take lightly, even if we can sit here and talk about decreases in crime.
The organizers of tonight's meeting tell me they were pleased with the turnout, and they will be planning more safety meetings. The next one will be here at the same community center on August 11th. Reporting live in Encino, Tracy Leong, NBC4 News.
So that's the heinous murder that took place last week in Encino. But there was also a heinous murder that took place last week in Oakland, where a man murdered a parole agent in cold blood. And shocker, Johnny, that man has a long, violent criminal history.
You don't say.
For more, here's Cron 4.
New details about the man accused of shooting and killing a parole officer in Oakland.
Brian Hall has now been charged with murder And according to court documents, he has an extensive criminal history. In addition to the new charges, Hall has been convicted of 10 felonies that date back to 1996.
Those past convictions include assault, robbery, and drug crimes. Most recently, Hall was convicted earlier this year for a stabbing in Alameda County.
Why was he out?
Equity.
Convicted of a stabbing earlier this year, and he was already on parole?
But Randy, George Floyd.
Most recently, Hall was convicted earlier this year for a stabbing in Alameda County. He made his first court appearance this afternoon for the shooting death of parole agent Joshua Byrd. That was last Thursday.
Our Crown 4's Dan Kerman was there and has more.
Prosecutors say prior to Thursday's fatal shooting at a state parole office in Oakland, they don't believe defendant Brian Hall and parole agent Joshua Byrd had any interaction.
We can't find any at this point. What I do know is that the defendant showed up to the parole office a day late for an appointment, and that Mr. Byrd was not his parole agent.
Hall made his first appearance in court Monday, but did not enter a plea. He's now been charged with a litany of crimes, and if found guilty, faces life in prison.
What does that matter? It's California.
Oh, yes. You have Gavin Newsom appointed judges and Gavin Newsom appointed parole boards. Does anyone actually think this guy is going to do life in prison?
Without the possibility of parole.
First being...
And by the way, that doesn't mean anything either. Look at what's going on with the Menendai.
There's always an out.
First being murder of a parole agent, that being Joshua Byrd, with special circumstances, and that's because of his peace officer status. There are gun enhancements. There's also a robbery of a passenger.
Can you imagine what the charges would be if Pamela Price was still in office?
Oh, it would be parking illegally.
Quite frankly. On an AC transit bus, theft of a vehicle during an escape, and a felon in possession of firearm.
This is somebody that we deemed safe to reenter society months after he was sentenced for a stabbing.
We deny reality when we assume that these people are rehabilitated and can go back into society and behave like normal, rational human beings.
All of these also include enhancements as well as a two-strike enhancement, which makes this a third strike if convicted.
At a news conference Monday prior to the hearing, Alameda County District Attorney Ursula Jones-Dixon made it clear it was the policy of her predecessor, Pamela Price, not to charge enhancements.
Yep.
There you go, another Soros DA.
When Hall was charged in November of 2022 with attempted murder and assault.
So as a result of that, great bodily injury was not charged. And in addition...
You don't charge great bodily injury when someone gets stabbed?
Nope, not in Gavin Newsom's California.
She called me a crime boss.
Kind of are.
So as a result of that, great bodily injury was not charged. And in addition to that, not only great bodily injury, but strikes were alleged, but they could not be considered under that directive.
Hall ultimately made a plea deal in February.
So that could have been his third strike. But Tammy Price said, no, that's racist.
No. And I'm sure she has no feeling of obligation or no feeling of remorse for what happened here. An obligation to apologize to the family of that dead individual.
Hall ultimately made a plea deal in February of this year, but Jones-Dixon suggested Hall may not have been walking the streets of Oakland last week had the case been charged properly in the first place.
As a result of none of those enhancements and none of the strikes, he got 4 years at halftime, so he did 2 years in custody. Had he had that same allegation with the enhancements and strikes, we would have been looking at more like 12 years at 85%. So that's a huge difference in time.
In a statement, recall District Attorney Pamela Price denied any wrongdoing, saying, Mr. Hall's crime took place before I was in the office, and his negotiated plea deal was made after I left office.
Sure.
We'll go with that. You were the tough on crime, DA, and everyone else is falling on their face.
The family of the victim was not in court, but the hearing was filled with law enforcement officers from various agencies. Again, the defendant did not enter a plea. He's due back in court on August 22nd. At the Wiley Emanuel Courthouse in Oakland, Dan Kerman, Crown 4 News.
So once again, yet another story of someone with a violent past that we had in custody that we said, let's just see what happens. Let him out.
As Ron Popeil used to say on late night TV, but there's more. We'll have more of the state of California failing its population with lenient on crime policies coming up next, because it also includes the Runyon Canyon arsonist. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you missed yesterday's episode and want to find out what you missed out on, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You could download all the episodes. You could do a Google on the YouTube. You get the KABC app. You get the KSFO app. There are so many ways to listen to this show, but let me just warn you, if you're going to be listening to this show while you're in the parking lot of a Vons, I don't know, maybe the one on Tampa and Victory in the San Fernando Valley, just keep your eyes peeled in case someone's trying to steal your watch.
No. I know.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Sure thing. 790 KABC welcomes Tribal Seeds with special guests The Expendables, Mike Love, and more at the Pacific Amphitheater at the OC Fair on August 10th. It's all part of the Toyota Summer Concert Series. Tickets on sale now at pacamp.com. But right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. All concert tickets include admission to the OC Fair. Tickets furnished by the Pacific Amphitheater. Good luck dialing.
In the first segment, we told you how California's soft on crime policies allowed career criminals to murder 3 different people, 2 in the San Fernando Valley, 1 in Oakland. Apparently, our policies are also failing when it comes to arson.
We all remember the story last week of the incredible couple that was hiking in Runyon Canyon and saw a crazy jackass trying to start a fire. Well, one guy of that couple just happened to be a former football player who tackled him down and made sure to hold him down till the authorities got there. Well, John, this may surprise you. The Runyon Canyon arsonist also has a record.
You don't say.
For more, here's a report from KCAL in Los Angeles.
A man accused of trying to start a fire on a popular hiking trail has apparently been in trouble with the law before.
And KCAL News investigative reporter Ross Palumbo takes a look at his rap sheet.
We all saw the dramatic video, all of it captured on this cell phone video right here. A suspected arsonist arrested in Runyon Canyon just a few days ago after witnesses say they saw him light a fire, and then those witnesses helped bring him into custody. The suspect is 43-year-old Andrew O'Callahan, and he has pleaded not guilty to felony arson charges.
Really? What's his defense going to be? I mean, when we have somebody dead to rights on video doing something, how exactly are you going to defend that?
The charging documents we've obtained right here, take a look. They tell us prosecutors believe he is a serious danger to society and that he has prior convictions and that he was actually on probation when he was arrested.
Of course.
There you go. How predictable.
And because, especially in Los Angeles County, where we have all of our probation officers being forced into Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall because of the staffing shortages there, because the PO officers there are getting assaulted by the gang members that are inside that facility, there isn't really a whole lot of street POs to be looking at all the people on probation. So this guy realized no one was looking, and hey, why don't I go set a fire in the most popular hiking trail in L.A.?
Because why not? People like to see things go boom.
And that he was actually on probation when he was arrested. And the data that we have sifted through shows that his criminal history is extensive, stretching across L.A. County. It begins back in 2023 when he was arrested twice, first in Santa Monica, then in West L.A. And by 2024, he was arrested 6 more times.
How many times do we have to do these stories before people in power start to get it?
Well, when it comes to, district attorneys, we kind of got it in Los Angeles. We overwhelmingly dumped George Gascon. We overwhelmingly passed Prop 36. But at the same time, we put more members of the Defund the Police, Democrat Socialists of America in the LA City Council. And Karen Bass looks like she is skating to re-election with no actual challengers at this point.
And Rob Bonta looks like he's going to cruise to re-election. And the state legislature, particularly those on the public safety committees, they're winning re-election as well.
In the West Valley, in North Hollywood, in Van Nuys, Santa Monica, and in Hollywood. And this year, in 2025, he was arrested in West Hollywood, and his last arrest was that arrest in Runyon Canyon. Now, in all, we found 11 arrests on various charges, both for misdemeanors and felonies, for things like vandalism, robbery, and drugs, but never for arson.
Well, at some point, you graduate.
You up the ante. This is how they start. You go back and you look at the profiles of all of these serial killers, and it's shocking how similar their histories are, where they start with animals and then they work their way up the food chain to the point to where they start killing actual human beings. When you're looking at criminals who commit acts like arson, they don't start with arson, they start with other things and they work their way up.
And he's been in court at least 4 times and sentenced for vandalism, possession of a controlled substance, and on 2 charges of assault with a deadly weapon. Now,
okay, so even is that one considered a violent crime?
In California, yes.
Now he's still in jail at this moment for that current arson charge. If convicted on that, he could face 6 years behind bars.
He won't.
Not going to happen. Not in this state. Not with the current people we have in charge.
And just you watch, as this can be yet another case where this guy's going to claim he's got ADHD, and that's what caused him to start the fire.
6 years. 6 years behind bars. And we'll let you know how that data point ends up. I'm Ross Palumbo, KCAL News.
These were all stories that were just in the news today that shows over and over and over again the failures in the state of California to do what Gavin Newsom says we do best, holding people accountable for their crimes.
Accountability.
And what they do when you bring up stories like this is they just flat out either deny that they happen, they say that it's an anomaly, or they say that if you paid attention to the overall numbers, crime is actually down. So stop believing anecdotal evidence. Meanwhile, 3 people are killed and a canyon was lit on fire. Yesterday, we had Katie Grimes on from the California Globe, where we talked about the owner, and I said owner, not the CEO, not the president, not the chairman of the board, the owner of In-N-Out, Lindsay Snyder, went on a podcast and announced that in California, it's tough to do business and it's very difficult to raise a family here. So she is going to pack up all her stuff in Irvine, which is where the company is headquartered. I think they have one office in Irvine and one in Baldwin Park. And they are going to move to the state of Tennessee, where the business climate is better and it's easier to raise a family.
Yeah, she's moving her family there. She says the headquarters will still be in Baldwin Park, but they are opening a regional office in Tennessee where she's moving her family. This is what Lindsay Snyder told Allie Beth Stuckey on her podcast.
So that's basically what's going to happen. We're building an office in Franklin. So I'm actually moving out there. And
wow, how do you feel about that? You're like a California girl through, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really loved living in Northern California, and I'm so thankful that I grew up there because I think it changed a lot of who I am today. You know, I think I would be different if I was raised in Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
I could do a whole hour on that.
And my guess is you will.
But there, like you said, there's a lot of great things about California, but raising a family is not easy here. Doing business is not easy here. Now, the bulk of our stores are still going to be here in California.
It's not like any locations are closing, but she is taking her family that has been in California, rooted in California for generations, and she is moving to Tennessee. And you know it says something powerful when a billionaire says it's not easy to raise a family here.
No kidding. And a brand that is so associated with the state. I mean, you look at the In-N-Out logo, and the first thing you think of is California.
For more on the reaction to Lindsay Snyder announcing that she's moving her family to Tennessee, here's a report from ABC 10 in Sacramento.
They have called California home for the past 77 years. Now the CEO of In-N-Out says that they are moving out of the state. Lindsay Snyder is the granddaughter of In-N-Out's founders and has been running the company for years. She says that she's now moving.
By the way, I follow her on Instagram. She has a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, she does. And you know what? She deserves it. You think about the situation that she's in right now. Now, I know that family has gone through a lot of tragedy because I think several people had to die before she was the one that took over the company. It was almost like the fast food version of King Ralph, where she was 6th or 7th in line, but because of several unexpected deaths, she ended up in charge of the company. But you think about it, she runs one of the most successful companies in the history of the state of California. She's an attractive woman. She obviously has a good head on her shoulders. Talk about someone with nothing but green lights in their life. And I love the fact that unlike so many of these other CEOs and individuals in charge of large businesses that have been abused by the state of California, and they're so afraid to be critical of Newsom. They're so afraid to be critical of the climate in California, the business climate, and the climate in Sacramento with the state legislature and the regulators and everyone else, that they are quiet or they're passive-aggressive when they want to express their outrage at what's going on. Go back to what happened during COVID when Newsom shut down Disneyland. Disneyland couldn't operate, but Disney World in Florida was open for business and everything was fine there. And Bob Iger resigned from some board that Newsom had put him on in protest of what was going on, but he wouldn't come out and publicly say this is stupid and we need to stop it. And that's part of the problem in California. So many of these people who have the means to move the needle don't, because they live in fear of Newsom and everyone in Sacramento because it's a one-party state. This woman gives 0 Fs. And she came out and said when they shut down the location in Oakland, we're shutting it down because of crime. We cannot ensure the safety of our customers and our employees, so we're shutting down a profitable location. And now that she's moving the headquarters out, she's saying we're doing it because of the business climate and because it's hard to raise a family here.
And because it's such a beloved brand, those announcements make major waves.
Hagenberger.
When the In-N-Out Burger on Hagenberger closed, that got Gavin Newsom to have to fly back to California and launch a surge with the CHP in Oakland to deal with crime, specifically on that corridor, a surge that lasts to this day, a year and a half later.
And he was there campaigning on behalf of Grampy Joe. So you know for a local California subject to get his attention over the national spotlight, you know how big of a problem he recognized it was.
And has been running the company for years. She says that she's now moving the business to Tennessee. The announcement has many people divided on the issue, as you can imagine. But tonight, one California law...
Well, I don't know anybody that's pissed at her.
No, well, I'm sure the legislature is. They'll find a way to punish her.
But tonight, one California lawmaker is blaming the governor, while economists say that the state's policies are to blame. I want to bring in ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen, who joins us in studio with the details and, of course, the governor's response on all of this. Jeannie?
Well, Alex, the popular fast food restaurant CEO made this announcement during a podcast interview. And to be clear, a majority of In-N-Out stores will stay open. But the CEO admits it's been difficult raising a family and running a business here in the state.
Well, I can't say that I'm surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed.
Often referred to as a California staple, In-N-Out's CEO says the company is moving east. Lindsay Snyder recently appeared on a podcast saying she will move.
Although she did announce that she's never expanding to Florida. So take that, Florida. You deal with your crystal and like it.
Lindsay Snyder recently appeared on a podcast saying she will move her family to Franklin, Tennessee, and build an office there. She adds the company will still have its Baldwin Park headquarters and keep the majority of its stores open, but close its Irvine office. This is the first for the company, which has been in California since 1948.
Just in the last few years, we've lost Hewlett-Packard, Fidelity, Carl's Jr., Now, In-N-Out, Tesla, Chevron, Oracle.
I think we have about 2.5 hours. Are we going to fit all these in?
Think about all those big companies that were here that we drove out.
Charles Schwab. How many companies are we going to lose?
Last year, the company closed its Oakland location, citing crime. Senator Tony Strickland says things have to change on a policy level, or else we will continue to lose more.
I still think California's best days are in the future, but it just takes leadership. And right now we have failed leadership in terms of our governor and our legislature.
Despite the loss, financial experts say California remains firm as the fourth largest economy in the world.
That doesn't make it easy to do business here.
No, they act like that's some kind of feather in Newsom's cap. We were big before Newsom got there. He's driving these companies out.
From an economic vibrancy point of view, it's kind of amazing that California does well in spite of itself.
But experts warn the state's policies could be its downfall.
I think the tone needs to change at the top. Texas, Florida have a very welcoming tone towards the businesses that are coming out from California. They welcome the businesses from here. They say, listen, we want you here.
In a recent podcast interview, Governor Gavin Newsom said 40% of Californians pay lower taxes than in Texas and Florida.
This is what he does. No, we're not anti-business. We're very business-friendly. Taxes are low here. They're lower than Florida and Texas.
From a certain point of view, what he's saying is kind of truthful. But what he's saying is that California has more poor people than the rest of the country.
Bingo.
But acknowledge the steep taxes for high-income earners.
If your only constituency are rich people, then I understand we're a high-tax state.
No, you're a high-tax state for the middle class, too.
Yeah, how about the vehicle license fee? Isn't that pretty regressive?
Yep. Gas tax?
Very regressive. And, of course, all the rest.